The sun never sets on the Islamic apologetics meltdown. The meltdown started back in June with Muhammad Hijab's interview with Sheikh Yasser Qadhi, where Dr. Qadhi shattered the myth of the perfect preservation of the Quran, instantly exposing decades of lies by Muslim apologists. Both Muhammad Hijab and Dr. Qadhi tried to minimize the damage by deleting the interview, but everyone had already downloaded it, so Muslim apologists received a crash course in the Streisand effect, the principle that when people find out you're trying to hide something from them, they suddenly become more interested in what you're trying to hide. This led to a great deal of mockery. Critics of Islam began mocking the claim that the Quran has been perfectly preserved, and they began mocking Muslim apologists for lying about their book. As we all know, of course, Islam, that proud spirit, cannot endure to be mocked. Muhammad Hijab went off the rails and started sending us messages about golden showers and all kinds of other perversions he learned about from his online viewing habits and from his prophet. Then he came up with the brilliant idea of posting veiled threats of rape and torture directed towards the wives of critics of Islam. That worked out well. Just ask my good friend Abu Porker, the first of the rightly folded critters. After that, Ali Dawah posted a video announcing that despite decades of Muslim apologists lying about the death penalty for apostasy, just like they were lying about the preservation of the Quran, apostates will indeed be executed when Islam conquers the world through high birth rates.
There's a reason why there's a capital punishment, because people like you, little weaklings who leave their religion and cause corruption in the land by spreading it, the capital punishment in Islamic law would be applied to you. We have no doubt, and we're proud of that. Yeah, capital punishment will be applied in an Islamic state. Under an emir, it is done, yes, and we, you know what, we'll be watching. The right of the community is greater than you individual wanting your right to freedom, which is BS.
Ali Dawah also posted a prayer request for Allah to curse us with diseases, a prayer which, as I said once before, left me shaking in my custom Quran skin shoes. Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawah and Fareed and Adnan Rashid then came together like the Constructicons forming Devastator to try to get critics of Islam banned from Patreon. This led to critics of Islam getting much more financial support, and as we all know, mo money, mo projects. The Speaker's Corner Dawah teams then decided that the greatest threat to world peace is a 5-foot-tall woman with some Muhammad cartoons. So they surrounded Hatun Tash and convinced the British government to forcibly remove her from Speaker's Corner, not realizing that by blocking free speech at Speaker's Corner, they just showed the world that mainstream Islam is indeed hell-bent on destroying the foundations of Western civilization. Sharia-phile Ali Dawah summed up the Islamic perspective on free speech when he tweeted, "The concept of freedom of speech is absolute BS." But keep in mind that if you're at all concerned about being forced to obey the commands of an illiterate 7th century caravan robber, you must be a racist, Islamophobic, hate-mongering bigot. Ijaz Ahmed recently entered the fray, hurling racial slurs and threats at his opponents, not to mention doxing them, in an effort to get them brutally murdered. To his credit, Shabir Ali's prize student Ijaz did apologize, although since one of his former friends announced that Ijaz has been plotting this for years, it's difficult to take his apology seriously. Not to be outdone, Islam's greatest apologist and my personal nemesis, a man who was defending Islam when Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawah were still in diapers, much like Aisha when Muhammad started lusting after her, a man who publicly declared war on me a few months ago, a man whose entire life has been dedicated to imitating his prophet in every way, was arrested for his extraordinary collection of child pornography. Rob Christian posted a video exposing Menge's obsession with kiddie porn. Once he was released on bail, Menge responded by declaring, I'm coming for your censored head, you censored Rob Christian, and by posting a picture of himself with a kitchen knife. Not surprisingly, one of Menge's obsessions is arguing that Rebecca in the Bible was 3 years old when she married Isaac. Rebecca was a shepherdess when she was married, so she clearly wasn't 3 years old. Why is Menge obsessed with the claim that a 3-year-old girl is ready for marriage? Well, it all makes sense now that we know what police found on his computer. Menge's most recent post about me was a response to me chewing up the Quran and spitting it out. Menge replied that psychopath chews on paper because he's a goat. Well, I wouldn't be the first goat to chew on the Quran, would I, Menge? Apart from that, I do have to correct you. I'm not a goat. I'm the goat, and you should write it like this next time. Much like Aisha when your prophet climbed on top of her, you're missing a few periods. So, in the past few months, the Muslim apologists who've spent years lying about the preservation of their book, lying about the Islamic view of our rights, lying about the penalty for apostasy, and lying about the Islamic view of women, suddenly began admitting that the Quran has been corrupted, that apostates will be executed, and that Islam aims to destroy Western civilization. They've been babbling about golden showers, threatening women with rape and torture, calling on Allah to give us diseases, getting Christians removed from Speaker's Corner, trying to get us deplatformed, using racial slurs, threatening us, doxing us, and of course, vigorously masturbating to child pornography. Why do we mock their religion? Because Muslim apologists lose their minds when we mock their religion, and when they lose their minds, they start admitting things about their religion that they would never admit when they're calm enough to lie. At this point, you might be wondering, if Muslim apologists are doing such an awesome job exposing and destroying their own ideology, what's the point of non-Muslims criticizing Islam? Well, the Bible commands us to love our enemies. The Bible says if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If your enemy is thirsty, give him something to drink. The same principle applies here. If someone who counts you as an enemy is destroying his own ideology, help him destroy it. So I say to Sheikh Yasser Qadhi and Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa and Fareed and Adnan and Ijaz and Menge, I'm here for you guys. Take my hand and let's expose history's most obvious false prophet together. Helping you is the least I can do, since you're basically signing my paychecks.